Hello everyone, and welcome to the inaugural webinar of a series we're producing at One Network that profiles applications built by our business partners, by the IT organizations of our customers, and by third-party and independent application developers using the One Network Platform as a Service, our industry core modules, and DevNet, One Network's integrated development environment, and SDK. Today we're featuring two applications. First up, we're profiling the Arms and Ammo Logistics Chain Management, or A2LCM app, created by our partner Rhino Technology and built for the U.S. Marine Corps for the annual Expeditionary Logistics Wargames. Also, we're profiling Alerts, a healthcare application built as a collaborative effort with a partner, notable in that it is one of the first applications built on One Network's exclusive healthcare industry core. My name is Trent Landreth, and I'm a Senior VP with One Network, responsible for the company's Industry Network Applications Division and our DevNet ecosystem. Joining me today to discuss the A2LCM application is Mr. Matt Edwards. Matt is a U.S. Marine, having served 10 years on active duty, and is now CEO and founder of Rhino Technology. And with Matt, we have Mr. Kurt Garrett. Likewise, Kurt served in the Marine Corps and retired with 25 years of service as a Chief Warrant Officer 5. We're very fortunate to have Kurt with us here at One Network as Director of our DoD business. And also joining us is Adnan Rafiq, a 6-year veteran of One Network. Adnan is the Development Director for our Industry Network Applications Division and is the Chief Architect and lead on our healthcare initiative. So let me quickly run through our agenda. I'll begin with a very brief introduction to One Network, just to give those of you not familiar with the company a little background on its history and what put us at the forefront of supply chain and logistics technology, including advances that have uniquely positioned One Network to address inefficiencies in complex multi-enterprise supply chain networks, an effort that has actually provided the foundation to solve problems in other spaces, as in the case with healthcare, an area in which we're addressing issues that can interrupt the continuity in a patient's care and also address major inefficiencies in healthcare operations. I'll also provide a high-level overview of the One Network Platform as a Service, our industry core modules, and our IDE and SDK. Following that, I'll hand it over to Mr. Edwards and Mr. Garrett for an introduction to Rhino Technology, the relationship with One Network, and a brief on the application Rhino built for the Expo Wargames. Finally, Mr. Rafiq will talk to you about the work done to produce the Alerts healthcare application, preceded by a brief on One Network's healthcare initiative, the objective of the Alerts application, and how DevNet, the One Network platform, and our healthcare industry core enabled its creation. Again, so just a quick introduction to One Network. The company's been in operation for about 13 years now and was founded by experts in supply and demand chain technology who during the 1990s introduced solutions that defined the state of the art for supply chain operations and optimization, and delivered to the market solutions that solved major supply chain performance issues and enabled a range of new efficiencies. However, at that time, the full vision held by the co-founder and CEO of One Network, that being to be able to provide real-time visibility into actual demand versus a best guess of demand throughout very complex supply chains from the point of consumption back to manufacturers, logistics providers, raw material providers, and so on. Well, the reality is that vision could not be realized at that time because the industry was still mired in an ERP, very siloed way of thinking. That changed with the founding of One Network. The company was built with the strategy that we have to stop thinking about individual supply chains and hub and spoke architectures and think more holistically in terms of supply networks, all based upon the principle of a single version of the truth, one persistent representation of data upon which all parties operate. And with that mandate, we built the first true patented multi-enterprise, multi-echelon, cloud-based platform as a service with tools and multi-tenant software as a service applications that allow us to bring essentially unlimited participants into one community operating on this single version of the truth, our real-time value network, enabling everything from collaborative planning to forecasting and execution, And to date, this multi-enterprise network supports over 50,000 different organizations serving a wide range of industries. The implication being, we have a very large base of customers served by a worldwide backbone. We hold a significant presence with major logistics companies such as Menlo and Imperial, and DTCI with the U.S. Transportation Command, pharmaceutical suppliers like Sinopharm, which is one of the world's largest. We also have a major presence in automotive, where we're handling very large supply bases worldwide for GM and others, and high-tech companies such as Aero Electronics, and notably an important practice, which we'll hear a little more about from Matt and Kurt, with the U.S. Marine Corps, and more broadly with the Department of Defense. And we have a major presence in retail CPG, serving customers like Kroger and Safeway. In fact, it was customers in this grocery retailer market segment that were among the early adopters of One Network. These were customers that supported One Network's vision. However, imagine attempting to convince a range of major North America-based grocery retailers, all who happen to be competitors with one another, and other entities within their supply chain, such as logistics providers and manufacturers, all who compete at many, many different levels. Imagine getting them all to agree to manage their supply chains on a single network, on a single platform and foundation, in order to realize the benefits promised by One Network. Well, they did agree, but certainly would not have if we'd been unable to demonstrate the ability of our platform, the technology we produce for running multi-party networks, to be secure, meaning in addition to hardware and software measures we've employed to secure our networks, we needed to provide an assurance that master data, transactional data, really all data, only finds its way into the hands of those that are authorized to access it and operate upon it. So in order to maintain secured access in a cloud-based multi-party network, we employ a very strict role-based permission model and enforce it at the lowest level of the platform, so that no matter what business modules we're adding or integration we're employing, all access passes through this permission layer, and thereby we can ensure that access is uniform. We also had to demonstrate that the platform was scalable, meaning it can increase capacity to meet virtually any demand, and applications can be developed to best utilize that capacity. A good example of this would be, and maybe the best example of this would be the replenishment function in the context of grocery retailers. The objective being to ensure that shelves are optimally stocked and excess inventory is minimized throughout the supply chain. So in this case, we're talking about retailers that may have hundreds or even thousands of locations across North America and stock tens of thousands of items on their shelves, meaning easily 50 million item site combinations or more that are regularly pushed through this replenishment function and need to be executed expeditiously. The One Network platform was built to scale to address situations like this example and many others, and any application, whether built by One Network or by a third party, can employ technology such as our grid processing framework, which enables the replenishment function, among others, to develop applications with the same benefits we've employed in our supply chain and logistics solution. And we needed to be reliable. And we have to maintain, as you might expect, very high service level agreements. And we can't allow the loss of any component to affect the availability of the system. So from a physical perspective, we've employed multiple layers of redundancy at all levels, firewalls, load balancers, application and database servers, and so on, using state-of-the-art technology, by the way, that also allows us to very quickly add capacity to meet new demands. And it was imperative that the platform be interoperable. You don't have to look too far to determine what's led to many failed ERP implementations. Very often, it comes down to tons of problematic, high maintenance, point-to-point integrations, and the latency and multi-party processes associated with all that. At One Network, we do things much differently. Each party makes one connection to One Network. Thereby, we are eliminating these myriad point-to-point integrations, and we're eliminating the need for any party to understand the disparate data formats, protocols, and sophistication, or lack thereof, employed by all other parties. We manage connections to new and old systems. We've yet to come across an integration touch point we couldn't address. So our platform can handle a wide range of protocols. I won't try to list them all, but some of them include SFTP for older systems, AS2, which is used a lot with EDI, and HTTPS for systems employing more modern web service architectures, and even a wider range of data formats we're supporting, some of which include CSV, XML, SAP iDocs, and HL7 if you're operating in the healthcare environment. So the One Network approach is that we stand up a network on our cloud platform. In the One Network vernacular, a network is a multi-party or multi-enterprise, multi-echelon operating environment serving an industry. Examples we have today include networks serving retail CPG, automotive, of course the U.S. Department of Defense, pharmaceutical distribution, and healthcare, among others. And for each industry we serve, we present a multi-party data model referred to as an industry core, multi-party processes and applications, that being applications built by One Network and by others. Each party or organization makes that one connection to One Network, and the entirety of multi-party business processes and the state of those processes is captured, and end-to-end data visibility is provided, helping to ensure timely and more accurate collaboration. Modularity in the form of reusable, deployable units of functionality is another important principle of the One Network platform as a service. But modularity in of itself is certainly not unique. It's basic computer science 101. But what is unique is what One Network provides to third parties, and for that matter, to its own development organization in the form of modules. And I'll introduce you to some of that here shortly. So modules can be built by third parties that extend the functionality and scope of existing One Network modules or other modules, extend existing or implement new data models, and incorporate custom UI pages and any engines that might have been built on top of our computational grid. And each module takes advantage of the underlying platform infrastructure. This includes a modeling framework to assist with creating data models by visually defining a model with all of its attributes, references, and integrity constraints. The platform does the work of creating all related software artifacts, tables, indices, Java that is, objects for object relational mapping, an XML schema, and it assists in the configuration of business processes and permissions around those models. It includes our computational grid, which we talked a little bit about, and our intelligent execution management framework. Essentially, this is a technology that allows a developer to identify units of work in asynchronous processes and have those executed across a cluster of machines, allowing things to get done much more quickly. This is built for actions like batch processes of large integrations or planning algorithms like the replenishment example I mentioned earlier, where the objective is to look across a wide array of data and take some demanding action. Also, our platform infrastructure includes our integration framework, which assists with establishing integration touchpoints. And it includes our user interface framework or command center comprised of a range of user interface widgets and components that allow developers to just knock out common use cases very quickly. So our SDK and Developer Studio pulls it all together in an integrated development environment, or IDE. We've taken advantage of open source technology, specifically Eclipse, to provide the foundation for our Developer Studio, and have added a wide range of extensions unique to One Network, some of which we've already discussed. The SDK includes libraries in line with and that interoperate with our platform frameworks. However, you'll not see One Network requiring languages or protocols that are proprietary to the company. So the profile or job posting for a developer in the One Network environment would read very familiar to much of the development community. It would include standard technologies like Java, JavaScript, SQL, HTML, XML, and the like. And finally, there's certainly a myriad of integration platforms in the market today, many of them cloud-based, and most do a decent job of integration of disparate systems and are effective as a means of point-to-point communication between systems, such as provided by enterprise service buses. However, before one network, attempts by platform providers and others to standardize industry models fell short because of a lack of extensibility, a lack of multi-party support, and they suffered from a need to replicate and synchronize data. But at One Network, as we discussed, we chose a dramatically different path, one that eliminates the burden of these multi-point integrations and messaging frameworks inherent to these lower-level platform as a service offerings. But further, our assertion remains, as it has from day one, that a single version of the truth of data is imperative to achieve optimal results. Whether it be a single version of the truth among all trading partners in a supply chain to synchronize and optimize planning and execution, or a single version of the truth of a holistic patient record, which provides the opportunity for far greater continuity in a patient's care, and we can generally presume better patient outcomes. So in support of that, One Network offers our industry core modules, which provides standardization of industry data models in supply chains and in healthcare and others, data models that are designed from the ground up and architected for multi-party, multi-enterprise support. And they're extensible at the application level, as apps can independently extend the core data model to include data tied to a specific business process. And they're extensible at the enterprise or tenant level, so the unique needs of an enterprise can likewise be addressed. And the industry core modules are the foundation for this single version of the truth. Applications with different objectives and purposes are built and deployed independently, but still work on a common core, a fused data model, if you will. And we eliminate the need for applications to duplicate data and have to message each other in order to stay in sync. So before handing this over to Matt and Kurt, let me just quickly note that everything I've introduced you to today, and there's a whole lot more detail that we can provide for anybody that's interested, but everything I've introduced you to today regarding our platform as a service, our integrated development environment, our software development kit, and our industry core modules, the same technologies One Network uses for development of our own software is available to third parties, to partners, to the IT organizations, to customers, and commercial application developers interested in building multi-party solutions. And by extending this capability and the support of our developer network to others, today we have examples of multi-party applications produced by third parties that have been built to work seamlessly with One Network's commercial off-the-shelf supply chain and logistics software, in many cases to meet unique requirements of a specific customer or market segment. And we have examples of applications built to integrate with and, in essence, extend the life of existing systems while enabling more demanding or sophisticated processes. We even have examples of systems built and marketed by other software vendors that have been ported or in the process of being ported to One Network to enable our multi-enterprise, multi-echelon support. And we have new industries being supported in large part by the works of third parties in areas like healthcare. So anyone interested in learning more about our SDK can visit our developer network site at the link shown on this slide, or visit onenetwork.com and click on the developer network link. Anyone that chooses to join our developer network will also be presented an opportunity to download a full version of our IDE and SDK and a runtime of the One Network platform upon which modules can be developed and with the opportunity to deploy completed modules to One Network. Let me also point out that we offer regularly scheduled developer training at One Network headquarters in Dallas, Texas, typically on a quarterly basis. Anyone that's interested can contact us at info@onenetwork.com. Okay, so it's time for me to get off the soapbox and let you hear from Mr. Edwards and Mr. Garrett about our relationship with the U.S. Marine Corps, our support for the Expo Wargames, and about the work Rhino Technology has done using the One Network development environment. Gentlemen?
Sure, thank you for that introduction for the webinar. This is Kurt speaking. Matt, can you jump in here and talk to us a little bit about Rhino Technology and the experience?
Absolutely. Thanks, Kurt, for the opportunity to join you in on this, talk about some of the things that we've done. Rhino Technology has got over 20 years of combined experience in just developing asset tracking, asset management software. We spent most of our focus on the DoD and NATO implementation of problem solving, especially in integration stuff. We've also done some other things. We've built some applications, automated information management solution, which has a module, an arms room module. It's automated armory is what we call it. And that's what we used when we worked with you on this demonstration.
Yeah, Kurt, I think we should talk a little bit about the DoD problems that they have right now. One of the big problems that the DoD has is not all their systems are integrated. So currently there's, and just in the Marine Corps alone, there's 200 plus legacy systems that aren't integrated to one of each other or the ERP system. This really causes a lot of problems in that the user, they're having to go into multiple systems, and we call it a swivel chair, where they type a requisition into one system, and they have to go to another system to get an update or replicate that same requisition. The biggest cost involved, or one of the largest costs involved, is rice coding. Because as we both know, to rice code, you got to have a programmer in a seat, and he spends all day, every day for weeks on end trying to get a report or a process done. The PaaS that we offer should help alleviate a lot of that.
And just to echo that, Kurt, one of the things that we did in our demonstration specifically was with the automated armory is that we were actually able to submit service requests right to the ERP. And normally in the integration between a standalone system and an ERP, we're talking a long period of time, but we're going to cover here in just a minute on how quickly we're able to do that.
Right. So, Matt, talk to us about the Expo Wargames, what its purpose is.
The Expo Wargame, it stands for Expeditionary Logistics Wargame, in which it provides the opportunity to bring in multiple different technologies to solve some of their current real-world problems that the Marine Corps has. And so they invite they've identified different problems, and they invite different technologies that state that they can solve all the needs, and then they all, after a short period of time, to come together, integrate where needed, or to set up the demonstrations. They come together, and then we show the Marine Corps, in which an external party oftentimes will understand the problem, evaluate, kind of look at the different technologies that came to this war game, and provide back to the Marine Corps some potential solutions that are flexible, often cost-effective, easier to implement, and stuff like that. So, for example, the Marine Corps had spent a lot of money, not just the Marine Corps, but the entire Department of Defense had spent a lot of money on marking serialized items that met a certain qualification. But the problem that instantly happened was the fact that none of the applications could use that mark. So that was one of the key things that we even demonstrated in our demonstration at the Expo Wargame, was even using that mark between two different systems that had never talked before. So the Expo Wargame is just an amazing opportunity to demonstrate the different technologies.
Matt, thank you for that quick explanation of the Expeditionary Logistics Wargame, which turned out to be a success. This is I think you and I have worked together on the last two with the Marine Corps. As we can see with the swim lane here, swim lane diagram, there's a lot of complexities. It touched multiple systems and integrated into the ERP. We're not going to touch much on this. It's just more of a display to let the audience know how complex this was. And then when they realized how fast we did it with your guys using our SDK, they have a better picture in their mind on how things work.
So how many integration points was there just total on that our use case that we did?
Yeah, there was a total of 31 touch points between multiple systems, whether it be the OIS Marine Corps, Trace and Command Mobile, Rhino's Automated Armory, and the Marine Corps ERP system. In doing it, as you can look on the web services, it looks pretty complicated. You have all these web services between multiple systems. But in essence, from when a requisition hit the system in your automated armory, it is able to just a matter of seconds be sent all the way through to the Marine Corps' ERP system, GCSS Marine Corps, and then on the backside of that, status was sent right back so that the user knew within near real time, hey, they've acknowledged it, we got the part, we got the service, or whatever the request was, and the user felt comfortable. He knew that it was going to be resolved.
So some of the things that I personally, this is Matt, we personally had, I think, a huge success. As a matter of fact, it's not even what I think. It's some of the things that we've heard back from some of the evaluations and different people that took a look at what we did. One of the things was actually that the time it took. It was within a 60-day period from the time we actually had the word go until we were actually demonstrating that 31-point integration that you just talked about. One thing I want to point out was about your SDK, Kurt, was how easy it was to actually implement. We handed it to one of our developers, and within a day he had it implemented into the system at our office, and then within a couple days he was coding away on the integration that we had lined out in the use case. So it was just a really simple and effective way of quickly integrating into a platform. Like that use case had said, we did straight from the beginning to an end and then back again. So supply request, status request, service request, and all the way to the ERP and then back to either automated armory or the starting system that initiated the request.
Yeah, that actually worked really well, because the other thing that we were able to do for the first time ever was to push IUID data back to GCSS Marine Corps the ERP system and update the install base for that unit. That had never been done before, and that was very critical in this demonstration to show that it could be done, again, using the automated armory in our SDK.
So it by far surpassed a lot of expectations.
Absolutely, absolutely. We not only did we surpass expectations, we were able to increase the speed. Whereas instead of using a current batching system where requisitions were being sent up to the ERP from the supply requisition process and back, we were able to do near real-time requisition point up, status coming back across the platforms back to the user, which by doing that increased the decision-making for the units, because instead of the units having to submit a request and hope they got the part showed up or get on the radio and then call, they were able to get a supply status back saying it's been acknowledged, shipment's on the way. The second part of that is now the logistics arm of the Marine Corps, they're able to start planning for transportation and delivery, which in the past that was always a problem because it would take a batch system, and then by the time they got it, it was actually past due when it was required. Another part of it was the flexibility. By implementing it into the SDK the way we did, and with the customized reports that are able to be done by the user, not the programmer. So in years past, what happened was the unit would say, hey, I need this kind of report. They'd go to the PMO office. PMO office would hire a bunch of rice coders, and they'd sit there and code the process or code a report. Whereas now, with the application of pivot tables readily accessible, when the user of automated armory, he can go in, he can select fields, deselect fields, and actually customize reports. That way, each user has their own experience, their own customized experience.
Right, and one thing I want to point out, Kurt, is anytime dealing with weapons, 100% accountability is paramount. And so that was data integrity was something that was also evaluated because we were specifically tracking weapons.
Right. IUID is probably the most important DoD mandate that's going right now because they want 100% accountability of everything that's serialized or over a specific dollar value that's set by the commander. And this is good for not only us, but the taxpayers, because now we're accounting for 100% of our items that we're buying.
Right. So basically, we demonstrated a cloud-based technology which delivered an effective solution from an end-to-end, from a request all the way through that request getting filled, and then tracking of the status of it, and tracking even a little bit of ITV, in-transit tracking and visibility when we brought in mobile solutions like Traton's mobile solution. So the cloud-based technology was effective, it was cheap, and it was very quick turn. It was a rapid app scenario, rapid development scenario.
Right, and the good part of this demonstration, what it actually represented and simulated for real time, is that you have a warfighter forward, he's having a problem. He contacts the PMO office, the program management office for the ERP, and says, hey, I need this capability set. Well, he doesn't have time to wait for the contract to go into place, awarding, and then sit there and do the entire SRS process. Instead, in this scenario, this demo, the program office said, hey, we have this third-party contractor, you, Rhino Technology, this is the requirement, can you get this built so that we can get it pushed forward and implemented into the warfighter? And instead of it taking a month, several months and years to be done, in 60 days with your technicians who, as I recall, were more C++ based, vice Java based, and they were able to just look at that SDK, turn and burn, get it done real super fast, faster than anybody expected, as a matter of fact, because your technicians are outstanding, and then get this thing implemented so that the warfighter is using it immediately. Because some of the things that we implemented during Iraq and Afghanistan, it took months. I mean, it took almost a year just to get some of the ammo solutions resolved. Whereas what you're able to do is provide to the commander in the battlefield, hey, here's the status of all my weapons, here's the status of all my ammunition, like immediately. As far as the labor costs, they don't have to have all these SSRs that are deploying forward with these Marines for 6 months at a time at an exorbitant cost. Instead, they're able to reach back, tell the program office what the problem is. Program office gets companies like yourselves to make the changes, and then it gets implemented and pushed forward.
Right, and one of the key things that we danced around is actually that cost. As you're very much aware, and a lot of the world and the U.S. is very much aware, is how much a lot of things cost. And we're going into a very fiscal restricted environment. There's drawdown, there's cutbacks. The money's just not there to throw at problems anymore, that we've actually got to now be able to quickly, cost-effectively implement the solutions. And that was one of the key things that was demonstrated, was the quick turn, as you talked about, but also the reduced cost, because as you're very much aware, a RICE object to an ERP, we could be talking large dollar amounts. But to be able to hand that third party or that standalone system, here's an SDK, and here's the system you'll connect to, and then within 60 days they've got a solution set. It reduced the cost and overhead substantially.
Right, absolutely. Costs to not only the taxpayers and to the DoD services, but more important, and this is coming from a Marine, is support to the warfighter, because that's what matters. It's the warfighter. Get the end of the spear, as we call it. So, Matt, I'd like to thank you for joining us in Rhino Technology, and of course all your technicians that are outstanding. And I think at this point in time, we'll turn it back over to Trent.
All right, Matt and Kurt, thanks very much. Absolutely appreciate your participation today, and we look forward to working with Rhino Technology going forward and seeing what's in store for the next XLOG Wargames. Okay, next up, calling in from Geneva, Switzerland, is Adnan. Again, Mr. Rafiq is Development Director for One Network's Industry Network Applications Group. So no one better positioned to speak about our effort here and in a variety of other areas, and of course on the work done on one of the very first applications built on our healthcare industry core. So Adnan, I'll hand it off to you.
All right, thank you, Trent. So hi everyone. My name is Adnan Rafiq, and I am the technical architect responsible for One Network's healthcare initiative and the design of the company's healthcare industry core platform. So today I'll be talking about the One Network healthcare industry core platform that is being used as the basis for developing interesting applications in the healthcare space. One of these applications is the patient alerts monitoring system, one of the first applications built on the healthcare industry core. So the alerts system will be the focus of this presentation. Okay. So one of the primary goals of the healthcare industry core is to allow the various applications built on top of it to always see a near real-time single version of all data, such as patient records. So now, of course, the One Network platform ensures that an organization on the network can only view or act upon data that they have been granted permission to. So this is where we use One Network's patented permissibility framework to ensure that this happens. Okay. So now, how do we achieve this? Well, first and foremost, the healthcare core standardizes the representation of the various entities within healthcare IT as standard data models. So an example of the data models can include things like, or entities like patients, procedures, medications, observations, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, beyond that, the platform ensures that the means to access or modify this data is exposed in a consistent manner. The various application and data access APIs leverage open, standards-based technologies and formats such as Java, SQL, XML, HTML, JavaScript, JSON, and so on and so forth. So the end result is that the developers or development organizations who wish to build and deploy applications within this health network do not have to learn a new and proprietary technologies all the time, right? Now, on the interoperability side, so as we know that interoperability, specifically in the healthcare IT industry, is extremely important. We have to make sure that the different applications, whether new apps developed very recently, or we're talking about legacy apps which were developed 10 to 20 years ago, it is extremely important that all of the applications can talk to each other and exchange information in a consistent and timely manner. Right? So on this account, One Network supports most major information exchange protocols and formats like CCD, and HL7, whether HL7 over HTTPS or MLLP, or we can even support some old systems that are running on bare bones TCP/IP form of communication. Okay, so on top of that, the platform also provides a plug-and-play architecture where the varying semantic mappings or transformation rules, if you will, can be quickly developed and deployed to account for the subtle differences in the way the various organizations have used or misused the standards over the years. So let me give you an example, right? So one of the examples could be that maybe a particular field within an HL7 segment, right? So one organization or hospital might use this field, and the semantic meaning of this field could be either subtly different or maybe drastically different from how another organization or a hospital would use that same field, but they might mean something different. So One Network provides a way for the developer or the designer to account for such variabilities and ensure that the final data is consistent for all parties, such that there is no confusion regarding the semantic meaning of the field. Okay? So let's move on to the next slide. So what you're seeing now is the sort of the high-level graphical representation of the architecture. So here we can see that how the platform accommodates the various formats and protocols while integrating with legacy systems, as you can see toward the bottom of the screen. Or likewise, when you're working with modern state-of-the-art HTML, web-based, or mobile applications, so you can see how those interact with the One Network platform, as can be seen toward the top of the diagram here, right? So now the center portion of the architecture diagram shows how the models are defined and accessed in a consistent and secure manner, regardless of how they're accessed. Okay? So now one example of an application or module, if you will, is the patient alerts application, as we mentioned in the beginning of this presentation, right? So the application has been designed to allow the various healthcare providers, such as hospitals or clinics, to generate, maintain, and propagate important and timely patient updates or alerts. These alerts are important to ensure continuity in a patient's care and avoid adverse effects. So some of the examples of what type of alerts are being captured and propagated in real time could be maybe things like new adverse drug reaction or allergies reported by the patient or nurse, or maybe some behavioral issues that were observed by the attendee at the time. So now what happens is these alerts are typically captured and generated using either a smartphone or maybe a tablet that's running a mobile application that can communicate with the One Network platform using a secure a secure protocol such as HTTPS. So now once the alert is received, it is instantly made available to any systems, whether they are internal or external systems, that have a subscription to that particular patient. Now, of course, the permissibility framework ensures that that only the relevant parties involved in the continued care of the patient can receive and act upon these alerts. So we make sure that if a third party which is not involved in the care of this patient or does not have the consent from the patient is not going to receive or act upon that alert. So for an example, let's say when a patient first registers and is in the triage area. So any alerts captured at this point will be automatically directed to the next phase of his care, which may be surgery, for example, or maybe some other form of critical care. All right. So our goal is to make sure that One Network Healthcare Platform as a service can allow organizations to extend the life of existing healthcare systems and provides the opportunity to implement new critical processes that are fully integrated, right? So the platform and healthcare core represents the opportunities for third parties to easily build apps that benefit from a single version of the truth of a holistic patient record using out-of-the-box multi-enterprise support, ensuring that all parties and applications work cooperatively and securely. So I hope this presentation illustrates the value that One Network brings to the table in an environment where many parties need to work in a collaborative manner with up-to-date and accurate data to ensure improved service levels and continued care of the patients, right? Well, thank you for listening. And having said that, I'm now going to turn this over to Trent.
Okay, thanks, Adnan, and thanks everyone for joining us today. I invite you to send us any questions you may have or requests for more information to info@onenetwork.com. Also, let us know if you're interested in signing up for a One Network developer class by sending a message to the same address. Note that for enterprises with large development organizations, we can also accommodate on-site training classes. We set up a resource page at go.onenetwork.com/PaaS dedicated to this webinar, including a DevNet overview brochure, a video produced by the U.S. Marine Corps that, among other things, highlights some of the work One Network and Rhino Technology have done for the Corps, And finally, if you think any of your colleagues may be interested in this webinar, it has been recorded and will be available on or before 6 p.m. Central today.